I shared my fries with her. Now the alien girl growls if anyone comes close. The Xeno Bazaar on Proxima Station was a sensory overload of the finest kind. Alien spices tickled the nostrils, exotic music jangled the eardrums, and the crush of 1,000 different species made personal space a luxury rather than a right. For Jace Morgan, it was just another Tuesday. Jace navigated through the crowd with practiced ease, his muscular frame creating a natural pathway as aliens of various shapes and sizes instinctively gave him room. His light chestnut hair, perpetually tousled despite his best efforts, caught the artificial sunlight streaming through the station's overhead panels. The practical green t-shirt and dark multi-pocketed vest he wore marked him as what he was, a human contractor, one of the thousands who made their living in the far reaches of settled space. "One large fries, extra salt," he said to the Danibian vendor, sliding across his credit chip. The four-armed alien grunted, took his payment, and handed over a red carton filled with golden, perfectly fried potato sticks, a rare luxury this far from Earth. "Real potatoes, not vat-grown," the vendor assured him with all four hands raised in a gesture of honesty that Jace knew was anything but. Still, they smelled authentic enough, and the first bite confirmed they were at least decent facsimiles. He found a relatively quiet spot near a decorative fountain and leaned against the railing, savoring each bite. These moments of earthen familiarity were worth every credit, a small taste of home in the vast emptiness of space. That's when he noticed her. She stood out even in the colorful menagerie of the bazaar, a humanoid female with sky blue fur covering her lithe, athletic body. Her orange eyes scanned the crowd with predatory alertness, and the brown leather outfit she wore, crisscrossed with straps and metal accents, suggested both danger and an undeniable allure. She moved like a warrior, like a predator, every step deliberate and graceful. Their eyes met across the bustling marketplace. Jace froze mid-bite as those striking orange orbs locked onto him. No, not him, he realized. His fries. The hunger in her gaze was unmistakable. Not the predatory hunger he'd initially read in her stance, but simple, mundane hunger. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Jace hesitated only briefly before raising the carton slightly in her direction, a universal gesture of offering. The blue-furred alien's eyes widened in surprise, ears pointed and feline, perking up in what he assumed was interest. She approached cautiously, moving through the crowd like water, never taking her eyes off the carton in his hand. Up close, Jace could see the fine details of her features, the subtle striping pattern in her blue fur, the small scars that told stories of past conflicts, the delicate whiskers that framed her face. "Would you like some?" Jace asked, extending the carton toward her. "They're French fries, from Earth." She tilted her head, nostrils flaring slightly as she sniffed the offering. With surprising delicacy, she reached out and took a single fry between clawed fingers, examining it carefully before placing it in her mouth. Her reaction was immediate and dramatic. Her orange eyes widened, pupils dilating to almost comical proportions. A sound emerged from her throat, something between a purr and a moan of pleasure. "Good, right?" Jace chuckled. "Here, have more." He offered the carton again, and this time she took it eagerly, devouring the contents with obvious delight. Jace watched, amused by her enthusiasm. It was always interesting to see aliens try Earth cuisine for the first time. What happened next, however, was entirely unexpected. A Taurian merchant, bulky and oblivious, bumped into Jace as he passed. Before Jace could even react, a fierce, primal growl erupted from the blue-furred alien. She stepped between Jace and the startled Taurian, her posture suddenly aggressive, fur bristling, teeth bared in an unmistakable threat display. The Taurian backed away quickly, hands raised in apology. But the alien woman wasn't finished. She circled Jace once, twice, her growls subsiding to a low rumble as she positioned herself at his side, orange eyes scanning the crowd for further threats. Thanks, but that wasn't necessary," Jace said, bewildered by her behavior. "He just bumped into me." She looked up at him, head tilted in apparent confusion, then pressed herself closer to his side. When another passerby came too near, she growled again, causing the unfortunate alien to scurry away in alarm. "Okay," Jace muttered. "This is getting awkward. He tried to step away, but she moved with him, maintaining her protective stance. It was as if she had appointed herself his personal bodyguard, all because he'd shared his fries. "Look, I appreciate the thought, but you don't need to," Jace began, but was interrupted by another growl as a human woman approached, clearly intending to ask him something. The woman retreated hastily, shooting Jace a look that clearly said, "Control your pet." He winced at the implication. "This isn't going to work," he told his blue-furred shadow firmly. "I don't know what's going on, but you can't just growl at everyone who comes near me." She blinked at him, then deliberately pressed against his side again, a rumbling sound. Not quite a growl, but something more complex emanating from her chest. Jace sighed. Somehow he'd acquired an alien bodyguard, and he had absolutely no idea what to do about it. "Come on, we need to figure this out," Jace said, gently guiding his new blue shadow through the market. Every few steps, she'd growl at passers-by who ventured too close, creating a bubble of space around them as aliens scrambled to avoid the pair. The translation kiosk stood in a quieter corner of the bazaar, operated by a wrinkled Vexillian with skin like parchment and 6 eyes that blinked in alternating patterns. Jace approached cautiously, his companion pressing against his side. "Need universal translator," the Vexillian stated rather than asked, its voice like rustling leaves. "For blue Philidian, rare species here." "Philidian? Is that what she is?" Jace asked, glancing down at his companion. "Yes. Warrior caste, by markings," the translator said, reaching for a device on the shelf behind him. The blue-furred alien, the Philidian, growled low in her throat, causing the Vexillian to freeze. "It's okay," Jace assured her, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "He's helping us communicate." The touch seemed to calm her, though she remained tense, orange eyes fixed on the Vexillian's every movement. "Here, universal translator, Philidian dialect included, temporary neural link, no surgery," the Vexillian explained, holding out what looked like a small silver disc. "Place behind ear. Works for 24 hours. Jace paid the exorbitant rental fee. Highway robbery, really, but he needed answers, and carefully placed the disc behind his ear. A slight tingling sensation spread across his scalp as the device synced with his nervous system. "Can you understand me now?" he asked the Philidian. Her ears perked up, orange eyes widening in surprise. "Your words, they make sense now," she replied, her voice melodic despite the underlying growl. "The magic of your people is impressive." "Not magic, just technology," Jace corrected with a smile. "What's your name?" "I am Kira of the Night Shadow Pride," she replied, standing straighter, a hint of pride in her posture. "Hunter-class warrior of the 3rd rank." "I'm Jace Morgan, human contractor." He extended his hand, then realized she might not understand the gesture. "Why are you growling at everyone who comes near me?" Kira tilted her head, confusion evident in her expression. "You shared your food with me. By the ancient laws of my people, we are now bonded. I am your protector until the debt is repaid." Jace blinked. "Debt? What debt? It was just some fries." You provided sustenance when I was hungry. This creates a life debt according to Philidian tradition," she explained as if it were the most obvious thing in the universe. "I must now ensure your safety until I have saved your life in return, balancing our bond." Jace ran a hand through his tousled hair, sighing deeply. "So because I gave you some potatoes fried in oil, you're now my bodyguard until you save my life?" "Precisely," Kira nodded, seeming pleased that he understood. "The fries were delicious. I have never tasted such a thing. They must be a great delicacy among your people." Jace couldn't help but laugh. "Not exactly. They're pretty common where I come from." "Then you are even more generous than I thought, sharing such wonderful food with a stranger," Kira said, her voice softening slightly. "The bond is strong." "Look, I appreciate the thought, but I don't need a bodyguard," Jace tried to explain. "And you can't just growl at everyone who comes near me. That's not how things work here." Kira's ears flattened slightly. "I must protect what is mine." "I'm not yours," Jace said firmly. "That's not how humans form bonds." "How do humans form bonds?" she asked, genuine curiosity in her orange eyes. Jace hesitated. realizing he'd walked into complicated territory. It's complex. We talk, spend time together, get to know each other. It takes time. We have time, Kira stated simply. I will learn your human ways while I protect you. Jace was about to argue further when a commotion erupted nearby. A group of station security officers were moving through the market, checking identification and questioning vendors. Routine inspection, the Vexillian translator muttered, its 6 eyes blinking rapidly in apparent nervousness. Or perhaps not so routine. Jace tensed. His contractor license was valid, but he was carrying certain items in his vest pockets that existed in a legal gray area. Nothing dangerous, just restricted tech components he was delivering to a client. Getting searched now would be inconvenient at best, disastrous at worst. Kira sensed his tension immediately. You are concerned, she observed, her posture shifting subtly to alert readiness. Are these uniformed ones a threat? Not exactly, but I'd rather avoid them right now, Jace admitted. Without another word, Kira took his hand and pulled him away from the kiosk, moving with purpose through the crowd. Her natural predatory grace allowed her to find gaps between groups of shoppers that Jace wouldn't have noticed, and her occasional warning growls ensured those gaps widened as needed. Where are we going? Jace asked as they ducked down a narrow service corridor. Away from danger, Kira replied simply. I know these station layouts. They are similar across the galaxy. She led him through a maze of maintenance passages and service tunnels, moving with confident familiarity. Jace found himself impressed despite his frustration with the situation. She clearly had experience moving undetected through populated areas, a skill set that raised questions about her past. They emerged in a quieter section of the station, a residential area where the lighting was dimmed to simulate evening. Kira finally slowed her pace, releasing Jace's hand. We should be safe here, she said, orange eyes scanning their surroundings. The uniformed ones rarely patrol these sections thoroughly. Jace leaned against a wall, catching his breath. Thanks for that, but you didn't need to. I fulfilled my duty, Kira interrupted, a note of satisfaction in her voice. You wished to avoid those officials, and I ensured you did. That's not the same as saving my life, Jace pointed out. No, she agreed, but it is a start. The life debt remains. Jace sighed, realizing he wasn't going to win this argument, at least not today. Fine, but we need to establish some ground rules if you're going to follow me around. First, no growling at people unless they're actually threatening me. Kira considered this, head tilted. How will I know who threatens you? Trust me, I'll let you know, Jace assured her. Second, I need to understand more about you and this bond. Where are you from? What brings you to Proxima Station? Kira's posture changed subtly, a new wariness entering her expression. I am between assignments. My last hunt ended poorly. I came here seeking new opportunities. Hunt? You're some kind of bounty hunter. Hunter-class warrior, she corrected. I track and capture those who violate our laws. Or I did until recently. The pieces began falling into place for Jace. The warrior stance, the combat-ready outfit, the way she moved through crowds. She was essentially a cop or military, though currently without a position, if he was interpreting correctly. And now, he asked? Now I protect you, she said simply, as if it were the most natural conclusion, until the debt is repaid. Jace looked at her, really looked at her, and saw beyond the fierce exterior. There was something vulnerable in those orange eyes, a loneliness he recognized all too well. Whatever had happened with her last hunt, it had left her adrift, and somehow, his simple act of sharing food had given her purpose again. All right, he said finally, but we do this my way, no unnecessary growling, and you have to let me explain human customs so you don't cause a diplomatic incident. Kira's ears perked up, and the rumbling sound she made was distinctly different from her earlier growls, almost like a purr. Agreed. I will learn your ways, Jace Morgan. The way she said his name, rolling the "or" slightly, sent an unexpected shiver down his spine. This arrangement was going to be interesting, to say the least. Home, sweet home, Jace announced as the door to his apartment slid open with a pneumatic hiss. The modest quarters were standard contractor housing, a main living area that doubled as a kitchenette, a small bedroom, and a utilitarian bathroom. What made it unique were the personal touches: a vintage Earth movie poster for the Maltese Falcon, a small shelf of actual paper books, and a potted plant that somehow survived despite Jace's sporadic attention. Kira entered cautiously, nostrils flaring as she took in the scents. She circled the perimeter of the room, examining windows, vents, and the single door with professional scrutiny. Defensible, but the ventilation system is a vulnerability, she noted, tapping a claw against the metal grate near the ceiling. An assassin could introduce toxins? Jace chuckled. I don't think anyone's trying to assassinate me. You cannot know this for certain, Kira replied seriously. What valuable cargo do you transport that requires such secrecy from authorities? Jace raised an eyebrow. Perceptive, aren't you? Nothing dangerous, just restricted tech components. Specialty items for clients who don't want to wait for official channels. A smuggler, Kira stated, her tone neutral. Courier, Jace corrected. Everything I carry is legal. Somewhere. Just not always where I'm carrying it to or from. Kira seemed to accept this distinction with a slight nod. She continued her inspection, pausing at the small kitchen area. You have more of the fries? Not at the moment, Jace said, amused by her hopeful expression, but I can make some later. I have potatoes. Her ears perked up at this, and that rumbling purr returned briefly before she composed herself. That would be acceptable. Jace's comm unit chimed, interrupting the moment. He checked the display and frowned. I need to take this. It's a client. Kira nodded and moved to a position by the window, giving him the illusion of privacy while maintaining a vigilant watch on both the room and the view outside. Morgan, Jace answered, keeping his voice neutral. I have a package that needs discreet handling, came a voice artificially distorted. High value, time sensitive, double your usual rate. Jace's interest was piqued despite his caution. Details? Small item, pickup at Dock 17, storage unit 342. Delivery to Helios Colony. Must arrive within 48 hours. Helios Colony was 3 jumps away, a tight schedule but doable. Identification protocol? The usual. Payment in advance, half now, half on confirmation of delivery. Accepted, Jace said after a moment's consideration. Transfer the coordinates and first payment. The comm chimed again as the information came through. Jace reviewed it quickly, noting the substantial payment already in his account. Trouble? Kira asked as he set the comm down. Business, Jace corrected. I need to make a pickup and delivery. Time sensitive. We need to make a pickup, Kira stated firmly. I go where you go. Jace sighed. This is exactly what I was talking about. I work alone. It's safer that way. Incorrect, Kira countered. You work alone because you had no proper protection. Now you do. She gestured to herself, as if the logic was irrefutable. Look, Kira, I appreciate the sentiment, but my work requires discretion. Having a blue-furred warrior following me around isn't exactly low profile. Kira's ears flattened slightly, and Jace immediately regretted his words. Before he could apologize, she spoke. I can be discreet, she said, a hint of wounded pride in her voice. I was not always a hunter. Before my training, I learned stealth and infiltration. Jace considered this. Having backup could be useful, especially for a high-value package. And if he was being honest with himself, there was something reassuring about Kira's presence. Her confidence, her alertness, qualities that could prove valuable in his line of work. All right, he conceded, but you follow my lead. No growling, no threatening behavior unless I give the signal. We need to blend in. Kira's ears perked up again. What is the signal? If I say now would be a good time for a demonstration, that means you can go full Philidian warrior on whoever's causing problems, Jace decided. Otherwise, just act normal. Normal, Kira repeated, testing the word. I will observe how humans act and mimic their behaviors. Jace wasn't entirely confident in this approach, but decided it was the best he could hope for. Let's get ready. We need to move quickly. As Jace gathered his equipment, a concealed stunner, a multi-tool, and a specialized carrier bag with scanning countermeasures, Kira watched with evident interest. Your weapons are inadequate, she observed. I could provide superior protection with proper armaments. No weapons, Jace said firmly. "The stunner is just a precaution. This is a pickup and delivery, not a combat mission." Kira looked unconvinced but didn't argue further. Instead, she adjusted her leather outfit, checking various hidden pockets and straps. Jace had the distinct impression she was armed regardless of his instructions, but decided not to press the issue. They left the apartment and made their way through the station's corridors toward the docking area. Jace was pleasantly surprised by Kira's ability to adapt her behavior. She still walked with a predator's grace, but she'd modulated her more obvious alien mannerisms, keeping close to Jace without the protective growling. Dock 17 was in a less reputable section of the station, where security cameras mysteriously malfunctioned, with regularity and station patrols were conspicuously infrequent. Perfect for discreet business transactions, less perfect for personal safety. "Stay alert," Jace murmured as they approached the storage unit 342. "Something feels off." "I sense it too," Kira replied softly. 3 individuals nearby, attempting concealment. Their scents betray anxiety and aggression. Jace glanced at her, impressed despite himself. "You can smell all that." "Philidians have superior olfactory capabilities," she stated matter-of-factly. "The one behind the cargo containers has a pulse weapon," Kira continued. "The others are armed with blades and what smells like neural disruptors." Jace's mind raced. The payment had been too good, the timeline too tight. Classic setup. "We need to leave. Now." "Too late," Kira whispered. "They've spotted us." 3 figures emerged from various hiding spots, 2 humans and a burly Taurian. The larger human, sporting a facial scar that twisted his attempt at a friendly smile into something menacing, stepped forward. "Jace Morgan, right on time," he said. "I'm Decker. I believe you're here for a package." Jace maintained a casual posture, though his muscles tensed for action. "That's right. Storage unit 342 inches. "Slight change of plans," Decker said, his false smile widening. "The package is coming with us, and so are you. Our employer wants a word." "I don't do renegotiations," Jace replied evenly. "If your employer has concerns, they can contact me through the usual channels." Decker's smile vanished. "This isn't a negotiation. And who's your blue friend?" "Didn't mention you'd have company." "Consultant?" Jace said smoothly. "Specialized security." Kira remained silent beside him, but Jace could feel the tension radiating from her. She was coiled like a spring, ready to unleash violence at his signal. "Well, your consultant is welcome to join us," Decker said, his hand drifting toward the weapon at his hip. "Or she can stay here. Permanently." Jace weighed his options. 3 armed opponents, unknown backup, potentially waiting elsewhere. And not great odds, even with Kira's evident combat capabilities. "I think," Jace said slowly, "now would be a good time for a demonstration." The change in Kira was instantaneous and terrifying. The controlled, observant companion vanished, replaced by a blur of blue fur and lethal precision. She moved faster than Jace's eyes could track, a growl of primal fury erupting from her throat. The Taurian went down first, a precise strike to his throat, cutting off his startled bellow. The second human barely had time to raise his neural disruptor before Kira was upon him, her clawed hands disarming him with brutal efficiency. Decker managed to draw his pulse weapon, but Kira was already in motion, her body twisting in midair to avoid his panicked shot. She landed directly in front of him, her growl now a terrifying snarl that exposed impressive fangs. "The next one who moves toward my human dies," she announced, her voice carrying a guttural undertone that made the threat unmistakably genuine. Decker froze, pulse weapon still half raised. "What the hell is she?" "My consultant," Jace said, stepping forward to retrieve the weapon from Decker's suddenly unresisting hand. "As I mentioned..." With the immediate threat neutralized, Jace quickly bound the 3 would-be ambushers using restraints from his vest pockets. Kira maintained her vigilant stance, orange eyes constantly scanning for additional threats. "Who sent you?" Jace demanded, crouching beside Decker. "Don't know his real name," Decker muttered, fear evident in his eyes as they kept darting to Kira. "Goes by the director. Said you had something that belonged to him." "I've never heard of any director," Jace said, "and I don't have anything that isn't mine." "Check your package," Decker suggested, a hint of malice returning to his voice. "Might find a surprise." Jace considered this, then moved to storage unit 342. The door opened with the code provided in his briefing. Inside was a small, unassuming metal case, exactly as described. "Can you smell anything unusual about this?" Jace asked Kira, who approached cautiously. She examined the case without touching it, nostrils flaring. Explosive components, subtle but present, and something else, biological material. Jace cursed under his breath. Trap within a trap. They wanted me to transport something dangerous, then either capture me en route or let me complete the delivery and take the fall. "What will you do with them?" Kira asked, nodding toward their captives. Jace considered his options. Station security would ask too many questions. "We'll leave them here, but first..." He approached Decker again. "Tell your director that Jace Morgan doesn't appreciate setups. Next time, I won't be so understanding." "He'll find you," Decker warned. "Nobody crosses the director." "Let him try," Jace replied with more confidence than he felt. He turned to Kira. "Let's go. We need to dispose of this package safely and figure out who's targeting me." They left the storage area quickly, Jace carrying the case carefully. Once they were several corridors away, he stopped at a waste disposal chute. "Stand back," he instructed, opening the case with extreme caution. Inside was a small vial containing a glowing blue substance, nestled in what appeared to be explosive components designed to trigger upon arrival at Helios Colony. "Biological weapon?" Kira suggested, examining it from a safe distance. "Looks like it," Jace agreed grimly. "Probably engineered to look like it came from my supplier." He carefully removed the vial, disabled the explosive components, and separated them for disposal in different chutes. As they made their way back to his apartment, Jace's mind raced with implications. Someone powerful wanted him eliminated or imprisoned. Someone who knew his routes and contacts. "You are concerned," Kira observed as they entered his quarters. "Someone set me up," Jace said, securing the door behind them. "Someone who knows my business. That's unsettling." "You have enemies," Kira stated. It wasn't a question. "In my line of work, it happens," Jace admitted. "But this feels personal and well-funded." Kira moved to the center of the room, her posture straight and formal. "The threat to your life confirms the necessity of our bond. I will continue to protect you until this danger has passed." Jace looked at her, really looked at her. Beyond the fierce exterior and warrior stance, he saw something he hadn't fully appreciated before. Absolute dedication. Whether driven by cultural obligation or personal choice, Kira was committed to his safety in a way no one had been in a very long time. "Your fighting skills are impressive," he acknowledged. "I've never seen anyone move that fast." A hint of pride showed in Kira's expression. "I was top of my hunter class. Before what?" Jace prompted gently when she didn't continue. Kira's ears flattened slightly. "Oh, before I was cast out, my last assignment, I refused an order that violated my personal code. My superiors did not appreciate my moral objections." The pieces clicked into place for Jace. Her presence alone on the station, her hunger when he'd met her, she was an exile, cut off from her people and resources. "So you're a rogue warrior with principles," Jace summarized. "Well, I can respect that." "You are not concerned by this revelation?" Kira asked, genuine uncertainty in her voice. Jace shrugged. "We've all got past, Kira. What matters is what we do now." He moved to the kitchen area. "And right now, I believe I promised you more fries." The change in Kira's demeanor was immediate. Her ears perked up, and that rumbling purr returned. Jace couldn't help but smile as he began preparing the potatoes. As he worked, Jace found himself stealing glances at his unusual companion. There was something undeniably appealing about her, not just her exotic appearance, but her directness, her unwavering loyalty, even her fierce protectiveness. "You keep looking at me," Kira observed, catching him mid-glance. "Is something wrong with my appearance?" "Quite the opposite," Jace admitted before he could stop himself. "You're striking." Kira tilted her head, processing this. "This is a positive observation?" "Very positive," Jace confirmed, feeling a flush of warmth that had nothing to do with the cooking oil. A slow, deliberate blink was Kira's response. along with that rumbling purr that Jace was beginning to find rather endearing. "We need information," Jace announced, fastening the top button of his rarely worn formal shirt. The deep blue fabric complemented his eyes, a detail not lost on Kira, whose gaze lingered appreciatively. "And I know exactly where to find it." 3 hours had passed since their encounter with Decker and his crew. They'd used the time wisely, eating the promised fries, which Kira had devoured with unabashed delight, researching the director, finding nothing concrete, and preparing for their next move. "Where are we going?" Kira asked, watching Jace transform from casual courier to something more refined with a few simple wardrobe adjustments. "Club Paradox," Jace replied, slipping on a tailored Jace seat. "High-end establishment where the station's elite mingle with visiting dignitaries and the occasional criminal mastermind. If anyone knows about this director, we'll find them there." Kira frowned. "A crowded social venue presents security challenges, which is why you'll need this." Jace produced a sleek, form-fitting outfit in deep charcoal gray, less conspicuous than leather with straps. Kira examined the garment with obvious skepticism. "This provides no protection." "It provides the protection of blending in," Jace explained. "Club Paradox has a strict dress code and an even stricter no-weapons policy. We need to look the part." After some convincing, Kira reluctantly changed into the outfit. The result was striking. The sophisticated clothing accentuated her athletic figure while downplaying her more obvious alien features. With her blue fur groomed and her posture adjusted to appear more relaxed, she could almost pass for an exotic socialite rather than a warrior. "Remember," Jace said as they prepared to leave, "no growling, no threatening gestures. We're just two people enjoying an evening out." "I remember our agreement," Kira replied, though her tone suggested limited patience for the charade. "But my duty remains. Your safety is paramount." "The best way to ensure my safety tonight is to help me gather information without drawing attention," Jace insisted. "Can you do that?" Kira's orange eyes met his, intense and unwavering. "For you, I will try." The journey to Club Paradox took them through the station's upper levels, where the corridors widened, the lighting softened, and the general atmosphere shifted from utilitarian to luxurious. Kira observed these changes with evident curiosity. "Your station segregates by wealth," she noted, "like my homeworld." "Like most places in the galaxy," Jace replied with a hint of resignation. "Some things never change, regardless of species." Club Paradox lived up to its name, a study in beautiful contradictions. The exterior was understated elegance, while the interior exploded in controlled opulence. Soft, bioluminescent lighting cast everything in a dreamlike glow. Gravity modulators created areas where patrons could float gently above plush seating or dance in 3 dimensions. The clientele was equally diverse. Humans in formal attire mingled with aliens of various species, all projecting an aura of importance and wealth. The doorman, a tall, slender being with metallic skin, gave them an appraising look before nodding them through. Jace had called in a favor for their access, and apparently it had paid off. "Stay close," Jace murmured as they entered the main floor. "My contact should be here somewhere." Kira moved with surprising grace, adapting quickly to the social environment despite her obvious discomfort. Her orange eyes constantly scanned their surroundings, but she managed to make it look like casual observation rather than tactical assessment. They made their way to the bar where Jace ordered drinks, something amber-colored for himself, and, after a brief consultation with the bartender, a luminescent blue concoction for Kira that was apparently popular among species with her physiological profile. "Sip slowly," he advised as she examined the glowing liquid. "It's stronger than it looks." Kira took a cautious taste, her eyes widening slightly. "It's pleasant, like liquid starlight." Jace smiled at her description. "Good. Now see the human woman by the floating platform? Silver dress, talking to the Vexillian ambassador? That's Alara Voss, former intelligence operative, now information broker. If anyone knows about this director, it's her." Kira studied the woman with newfound interest. "How do we approach?" "Carefully," Jace said. "Alara doesn't appreciate direct questions. We need to—" "Jace Morgan," a melodious voice interrupted. "Still alive, I see. How disappointing for your enemies." They turned to find Alara herself standing behind them, her silver dress shimmering like liquid metal in the club's ambient lighting. Her smile was professional, revealing nothing. "Ilara," Jace greeted her with equal neutrality. "Always a pleasure." "I'm sure," she replied, her gaze shifting to Kira with evident curiosity. "And who's your striking companion?" "Kira," Jace said simply, avoiding surnames or species designations that might reveal too much. "Charmed," Ilara said, extending a hand in the human greeting custom. Kira hesitated only briefly before accepting the handshake, careful to keep her claws retracted. "Likewise." "What brings you to my corner of the station, Jace?" Ilara asked, signaling the bartender for her usual drink. "You're not exactly a regular in these circles." "Just showing Kira the finer side of Proxima," Jace replied casually. "Though I did hear an interesting rumor recently about someone called the Director. Thought you might know something?" Ilara's expression didn't change, but Jace noticed a subtle tension in her posture. "Careful, Jace. Some names aren't meant to be spoken in public." "So you do know something," Jace pressed gently. Ilara accepted her drink from the bartender, taking a deliberate sip before responding. "Not here. Meet me in the private lounge in 20 minutes. Bring your friend." With that, she glided away, seamlessly rejoining the crowd. "She knows something," Kira observed once Ilara was out of earshot. "And she's scared," Jace added. "I've known Ilara for years. Nothing scares her." They spent the next 20 minutes circulating through the club, maintaining their cover while Kira gradually acclimated to the social environment. Jace noticed with amusement that she was drawing admiring glances from patrons of various species. Her exotic beauty and natural grace making her stand out despite her attempts to blend in. "You're quite popular," he commented as they made their way toward the private lounge. "I don't understand their interest," Kira replied, genuinely puzzled. "I've done nothing to attract attention." "Sometimes just being yourself is enough," Jace said, surprising himself with the sincerity in his voice. The private lounge was a secluded area, separated from the main club by sound-dampening fields and privacy screens. Ilara was already waiting, along with a nervous-looking Taurian in formal business attire. "Jace, Kira, this is Moran," Ilara introduced the Taurian. "He has information that might interest you." Moran's four-fingered hands fidgeted constantly. "You asked about the Director," he said without preamble, his voice barely above a whisper. "He's real and dangerous." "We gathered that much," Jace said. "What can you tell us about him?" "Not him, her," Moran corrected. "Director Naomi Blackwood, former Earth Intelligence, now runs a private security firm called Sentinel Dynamics. But that's just the legitimate front." Jace frowned. "Never heard of her." "That's by design," Ilara interjected. "Blackwood operates in shadows within shadows. Her official business provides cover for her real enterprise: corporate espionage, assassination, political manipulation." "Why would someone like that target me?" Jace wondered aloud. "I'm just a courier." Moran and Ilara exchanged glances. "You transported something recently," Moran said. "A data crystal from the Arcturus system to a research facility on Europa." Jace's blood ran cold. The job had been routine. A small package, good pay, no complications. That was 3 months ago. What about it? "That crystal contained research data on a new propulsion system," Ilara explained. "Revolutionary technology that would make current FTL drives obsolete. Blackwood wanted it for her clients, but you delivered it before her operatives could intercept." "So this is revenge?" Jace asked incredulously. "Seems excessive." "Not revenge," Moran said, his fidgeting intensifying. "Insurance. The research facility is close to a breakthrough. Blackwood needs someone to blame when it's sabotaged, preferably someone with a history of transporting questionable cargo across jurisdictional boundaries." "Me," Jace realized. The biological weapon was meant to establish a pattern, make me look like a terrorist or saboteur. "Precisely," Ilara confirmed. "Once you delivered it to Helios Colony, evidence would link you to the research facility attack. Neat, clean, and utterly ruthless." Kira, who had remained silent throughout the exchange, suddenly tensed. "Someone is approaching, armed." Before anyone could react, the privacy screen deactivated, revealing two humans in nondescript clothing, their hands concealed in their jacetes in the universal sign of concealed weapons. "Mr. Morgan," the taller one said, "Director Blackwood would like a word." Jace assessed their options. The club's no weapons policy was clearly flexible for some patrons, and starting a confrontation here would endanger civilians. "I'm in the middle of a drink," he replied calmly. "Perhaps another time." "This isn't a request," the man said, his hand emerging just enough to reveal a neural disruptor. "Now." Jace felt Kira tense beside him, ready to spring into action despite their surroundings. He placed a subtle, restraining hand on her arm. "Gentlemen," Alara interrupted smoothly, "this is a private establishment. Whatever business you have with Mr. Morgan can surely wait until—" "Stay out of this, Voss," the second man snapped. "Your information brokering days are over if you interfere." Jace caught Kira's eye, giving her the slightest nod. Understanding passed between them instantly. "Well," Jace said, rising slowly, "if the director insists—" He moved with practiced precision, grabbing his drink and flinging the contents into the face of the first man. Simultaneously, Kira launched into action, her movements a blur as she disarmed the second man before he could fully draw his weapon. The first man, temporarily blinded, reached for his disruptor, but Jace was already there, delivering a precise strike to his wrist, followed by a knockout blow to the jaw. The entire confrontation lasted less than 5 seconds. "We need to leave," Jace said urgently. "Now." Alara was already activating a hidden panel in the wall. "Service corridor. It'll take you to the lower levels. Go." "What about you?" Jace asked. "I was never here," Alara replied with a grim smile. "Yeah, neither were you. Moran will handle the cleanup." The Torian nodded nervously. 30 seconds before security arrives, make them count." Jace grabbed Kira's hand and pulled her toward the hidden exit. As they slipped into the narrow service corridor, he heard Moran beginning a loud theatrical argument with the unconscious men, creating a diversion. They moved quickly through the maintenance passages, descending several levels before emerging in a quieter section of the station. "That was exhilarating," Kira admitted, her orange eyes bright with adrenaline. "You fight well for a human." "Thanks, I think," Jace replied, checking to ensure they weren't followed. "But now we have a bigger problem. This Director Blackwood knows we're onto her, and she has resources throughout the station." Kira's expression turned serious. "What will we do?" Jace considered their options. "We need leverage, something to make Blackwood back off, and I think I know where to find it." "My ship is docked in Bay 42, Jace explained as they hurried through maintenance corridors. "The Starbound. Not the fanciest vessel, but she's fast and reliable." "We're leaving the station?" Kira asked, keeping pace beside him. "Strategic retreat," Jace clarified. "Blackwood has too many resources here. We need to change the playing field." They emerged into a less populated area of the docking ring. Jace checked his surroundings before leading Kira toward Bay 42. "There's something on Europa, the research facility where I delivered that data crystal," Jace continued. "If Blackwood wants to frame me for sabotaging it, that means there's evidence there that could expose her real plans." Kira's ears twitched. "A counterattack rather than mere escape. Tactically sound." As they approached Bay 42, Jace slowed. The security panel showed green, authorized access, but he distinctly remembered engaging the lockdown protocol before leaving. "Wait," he whispered, pulling Kira into an alcove. "Someone's been at my ship." Kira's nostrils flared. 3 humans, male, recently departed. "Sabotage," Jace muttered. "Blackwood's thorough. I'll give her that." Jace considered their options. "We need that ship. It's our only way off station." "I can eliminate any devices they've planted," Kira offered. "It's not that simple," Jace replied. "A single booby-trapped component could kill us mid-jump." Jace's face lit up with sudden inspiration. He pulled out his comm unit. "Starbound authorization Morgan Tango 73. Remote diagnostic protocol." The comm crackled before a synthetic voice responded. "Remote diagnostic active. Anomalies detected in primary ignition, sequence, and navigation systems." "Can you isolate and neutralize?" Jace asked. "Affirmative. Rerouting through secondary systems. Estimated completion, 3 minutes." Jace grinned at Kira's surprised expression. "Ship's AI. basic but effective. They waited tensely as the AI worked. "You have your own vessel," Kira observed. "This changes my understanding of your status." "I am just a courier," Jace insisted. "The ship's a tool, not a status symbol." "Diagnostic complete," the synthetic voice announced. "Foreign devices neutralized. Ship systems operational at 94% efficiency." "Good enough," Jace decided. "Let's go." The Starbound waited within the bays, a mid-sized vessel with sleek lines and the patina of well-maintained age. The boarding ramp lowered at their approach, internal lights activating automatically. "Welcome aboard the Starbound," Jace said as they entered. "Home sweet home." Jace initiated the launch sequence, his hands moving confidently across the controls. "Proxima Control, this is Starbound requesting immediate departure clearance," he transmitted. "Starbound, this is Control. Departure queue is currently—" "Emergency Protocol 793, Jace interrupted, using a code that would cost him favors but get them moving immediately. "Requesting priority clearance." The massive bay doors slid apart, revealing the star-studded blackness of space. Jace guided the ship smoothly out, accelerating away from the station. As expected, the comm crackled. "Starbound, this is Proxima Security. Return to dock immediately for cargo inspection." "Sorry, bad connection," Jace muttered, disabling the comm system. "Preparing for jump." "Sensors show 2 security vessels in pursuit," Kira reported, quickly adapting to the ship's systems. "Too late," Jace said as the jump drive reached full power. "Hold on!" Space distorted around them, stars stretching into lines as the Starbound leapt into FTL travel. The pursuing vessels vanished from their sensors. Jace released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "We're clear. For now." Kira's orange eyes were wide with excitement. "That was exhilarating." "First time jumping?" he asked. "First time as co-pilot," she corrected. "My previous travels were as cargo." The casual way she referenced her past made Jace's heart twist unexpectedly. "Well, you're a crew now," he said firmly, "and a damn good one at that." Jace awoke to the ship's alert system and Kira's hand on his shoulder. "We're approaching the Jupiter system," she informed him. "The ship detected long-range scans targeting us." Jace was immediately awake. "Blackwood's people?" "Unknown," Kira replied, "but the scan patterns match Earth military protocols." They hurried to the bridge, where Jace confirmed Kira's assessment. "She's called in official help. Makes us look like the criminals." "What's our approach?" Kira asked, taking the co-pilot seat. Jace studied the tactical display. "Direct and honest. We'll request emergency landing due to a medical situation." "Deception," Kira noted with approval. "But will they believe it?" "They will when they scan our engine signature," Jace said, making adjustments. "I'm creating a controlled imbalance. Nothing dangerous, but it'll look like we're having serious problems." The plan worked. Their distress call, combined with the engine's worrying signature, got them priority clearance to Europa's research facility landing bay. The Earth military vessel maintained a watchful distance, but didn't interfere. The Starbound settled onto the icy landing pad. Through the viewports, they could see the massive research complex built into Europa's ice crust. "We need to move quickly," Jace said, grabbing cold weather gear. "Blackwood's saboteurs are likely already here." He handed Kira a thermal suit. "This should fit over your fur. Europa's surface temperature is around -160 degrees Celsius." "What is our objective?" Kira asked as she donned the suit. "Dr. Eleanor Charleston," Jace replied. "She's the lead researcher I delivered the data crystal to. If anyone knows what Blackwood is after, it's her." They exited the ship, presenting their credentials to the facility's security team. Jace's status as a registered courier got them through the initial checkpoint, though he noticed the guards were more alert than usual. They located Dr. Charleston in the central laboratory, a brilliant space filled with holographic displays and complex equipment. The scientist was a small, intense woman with streaks of gray in her black hair. "Mr. Morgan," she greeted him with surprise. "I didn't expect to see you again." "Neither did I," Jace admitted. "But we have a situation. Director Naomi Blackwood. Does that name mean anything to you?" Dr. Charleston's expression darkened. "Unfortunately, yes. Sentinel Dynamics has been trying to acquire our research for months. When that failed, they attempted more direct methods." She's planning to sabotage your facility, Jace explained, and frame me for it. That explains the security alert we received, Doctor, Charleston said. Someone claiming to be from Earth Intelligence warned us that you might attempt industrial espionage. Not me, Jace assured her, but someone's coming, soon. Dr. Charleston studied him for a moment, then nodded. I believe you. We're scheduled to test the prototype drive tomorrow, the first fully functional model. That's what Blackwood wants to prevent, Jace realized. A successful test would make your research public knowledge, beyond her ability to control. A facility-wide alarm suddenly blared, red emergency lights pulsing throughout the laboratory. Security breach in Sector 7, announced an automated voice. All personnel implement lockdown procedures. The cooling systems, Dr. Charleston said, her face pale. If they're compromised, the prototype will overheat and, explode, Jace finished grimly, taking half the facility with it. Kira was already moving toward the exit. Where is this Sector 7? Dr. Charleston pointed to a schematic. 2 levels down, North Quadrant. But security will have sealed it off by now. Not a problem, Jace assured her, following Kira. We specialize in accessing sealed areas. Sector 7 was indeed sealed. Massive pressure doors locked into place. A security team had established a perimeter, their weapons drawn. No access, the team leader stated firmly as Jace and Kira approached. Potential sabotage situation. We know, Jace replied. We're here to help. I have experience with the cooling systems. The team leader hesitated, then shook his head. Orders are clear. No one enters until the response team arrives. An explosion from within Sector 7 interrupted him, the pressure doors bulging from the force. Warning lights intensified as the automated system announced, critical failure imminent. Evacuate all adjacent sectors. The security team began falling back. Jace turned to Kira, a silent question in his eyes. She nodded once. We're going in, he told the team leader. Override code Morgan Echo 97. The code, a high-level emergency override he'd been given for a previous delivery, worked, the pressure doors sliding open enough for them to slip through. Inside Sector 7 was chaos. Secondary explosions had damaged the environmental systems, filling the area with steam and electrical discharges. Through the haze, they could make out 2 figures working at the main cooling control panel. Blackwood's saboteurs, Jay said. We need to stop them before they finish the job. Kira moved with predatory grace, crossing the distance to the first saboteur before he even registered her presence. A precise strike rendered him unconscious. The second saboteur turned, weapon raised, but Jace was already there, deflecting the aim and delivering a stunning blow to the man's solar plexus. The cooling system, Jace called, examining the damaged controls. It's set to overload in 2 minutes. Kira joined him at the panel. Can you stop it? Not from here, Jace realized. They've locked out the main controls. We need to manually vent the system. He pointed to a massive valve wheel on the far wall. That's the emergency override. It requires significant strength to turn. Without hesitation, Kira moved to the valve. The wheel was designed for emergency use by multiple personnel, but she gripped it firmly and began to turn. It's moving, she grunted, applying her full strength. Jace secured the unconscious saboteurs, then joined her at the valve, adding his strength to hers. Together they forced the wheel to turn, gradually opening the emergency vent. Superheated steam burst from the release pipes, the pressure gauge on the cooling system slowly dropping from critical levels. It's working, Jace exclaimed as the automated warnings began to subside. With one final effort, they completed the valve turn, locking it in the open position. The cooling system stabilized, the immediate danger averted. Kira turned to Jace, her orange eyes bright with the thrill of success. We did it. Security forces burst into the sector, weapons raised until they assessed the situation. Behind them came Dr. Charleston, her expression shifting from fear to relief. You saved the prototype, she said, and likely the entire facility. And we caught your saboteurs, Jace added. I'd suggest questioning them thoroughly about their connection to Director Blackwood. Dr. Charleston nodded grimly. Earth Intelligence has already been notified. The real Earth Intelligence. With these men in custody and evidence of the sabotage attempt, Blackwood's days of operating in shadows are numbered. What about us? Jace asked. She still has resources and a grudge. You have the gratitude of the Europa Research Collective, Dr. Charleston said formally, and all the protection that entails. Ms. Blackwood would find herself facing the combined legal forces of 17 planetary governments if she continued to pursue you. As the security team took the saboteurs away, Jace turned to Kira. You saved my life, he said quietly. That explosion would have killed us all if we hadn't stopped it. Kira's ears perked up as she realized the implications. The life debt is repaid. Yes, Jace agreed, feeling a strange hollowness at the thought. By your traditions, our bond is complete. Kira was silent for a long moment, her orange eyes studying him intently. And what of your traditions, Jace Morgan? How do humans mark such moments? Jace took a deep breath. We typically celebrate, maybe over dinner, perhaps with fries. A slow, deliberate blink was Kira's response, along with that rumbling purr that had become his favorite sound. I would like that, she said softly, though I find I am reluctant to end our association merely because the life debt is satisfied. Who said anything about ending? Jace asked, reaching out to gently touch her face. I was thinking more of evolving. Evolving, Kira repeated, leaning into his touch. Into what? Something new, Jace suggested. Something neither of us has experienced before. If you're willing to explore that possibility. Kira's purr intensified, her orange eyes bright. I am a hunter, Jace Morgan. Exploration is in my nature. And as they walked back through the facility side by side, Jace felt Kira's hand slip into his. No growling, no protective stance, just the simple connection of two beings who had found something unexpected in each other. You know, Jace said as they approached the landing bay where the Starbound waited, there's a lot of galaxy out there. A good ship, a good crew, could go anywhere. Anywhere sounds promising, Kira replied. As long as there are fries occasionally. Jace laughed, the sound echoing in the vast dome. I think that can be arranged. And as they boarded the Starbound together, Jace marveled at how the simple act of sharing food had changed everything. A chance encounter, a moment of kindness, and now the stars themselves seemed full of new possibilities.